Tatsuya was an ugly, overpowered mage who pretends to be weak so he can goon in peace. However, everything changes when he enrolls in an elite magic school with powerful baddies and starts aura farming to rizz them all up. It all begins when Tatsuya and his hot sister, Miyuki, join the world's best magic academy, but Miyuki is annoyed with the fact that Tatsuya is admitted as a reserve student, which is a category for the weak. However, Tatsuya assures her that everything worked out in his favor, as he doesn't want anyone knowing he's more powerful than Gojo Satoru. After their chat, Miyuki leaves to prepare for the opening ceremony, while Tatsuya heads to the hall and notices the students are divided into two groups, blooms that are considered strong and weeds that are considered weak. As Tatsuya takes his seat with the weeds, he's greeted by his new classmates, Mizuki and Erika, and they immediately get friendly with him. After Miyuki gives a welcome speech at the ceremony, the baddies invite Tatsuya to hang out, but he declines by saying he's waiting for his sister. At this, Mizuki asks if his sister is Miyuki, as she can tell they have similar auras. Hearing this, Tatsuya realizes that Mizuki has an ability to sense people's true nature, and makes a mental note to avoid her, as he doesn't want anyone learning about his true powers. Just then, Miyuki arrives, and seeing Tatsuya with the girls, she gets jealous thinking he's already building his harem.
It should have been me, not him!
However, Tatsuya cups Miyuki's face and congratulates her for becoming the class rep, while Mizuki and Erika awkwardly watch their sweet home Japan moment.
Something fishy's going on.
Later that night, Miyuki quietly finishes her dishwasher duties. But Tatsuya can sense something's wrong, so he asks her about it. Miyuki then reveals that their parents called to congratulate her, but never mentioned him, and that's why she's angry. Just when Miyuki is about to angrily freeze the room like Elsa, Tatsuya calms her down, and she immediately starts to build plot by rubbing against his wim-wham. The next day, Tatsuya goes to a monastery to train with a bunch of monks, while the high priest, Yakumo, turns into Diddy's best friend after seeing Miyuki in her uniform. Before he could do something sus, Tatsuya confronts him, but ends up getting whooped by Baldi. After checking up on Tatsuya, Miyuki uses magic to fix his uniform before rushing to school. Later that day, Tatsuya is having lunch with his new friend Leo, and when Miyuki comes to join him, a couple of Bloom students tell her not to sit with the weed scums. This leads to an argument between them, and in the heat of the moment, Leo challenges the snobs to a showdown. As they prepare to fight, Mizuki gets flattered they want to have a mock duel over her, but when the Bloom students activate deadly skills, she realizes that someone's going to get isekai'd today. Seeing Miyuki so worried, Tatsuya prepares to intercept them, but the student council president, Mayumi, freezes their power while a member of the disciplinary committee, Mari, scolds them for using high-grade offensive spells. Stepping in, Tatsuya assures Mari that the Bloom students were just teaching them new skills, so there's no need for her to worry. Despite finding his story off, Mari lets them off the hook since she can't help but be rizzed by Tatsuya's cool demeanor. However, a cocky Bloom student named Shun later tells Tatsuya that he won't thank a scum like him and goes off with his friends. The next day, Mayume greets Tatsuya and Miyuki like their old friends and asks them to meet her in the student council room later. After class, the siblings head to the student council room, where Mayume introduces them to other members of the council, Rin, Mari, and Azusa. Miyuki then notices the members eating from their homemade bentos and asks Tatsuya if they should start packing food from home. While the siblings are discussing their meal plans, Mari and Rin tell Tatsuya that he looks like Miyuki's boyfriend, and he casually reveals that if Miyuki weren't his sister, he would have definitely given her back shots. When everyone looks at him with disgust, Tatsuya assures them that he's not cultured enough to smash his own sister. Before it gets awkward, Miyuki asks Mayume to join the student council, but she turns to look at Tatsuya, and he gives her an approving nod. All of a sudden, Miyuki goes on a rant about how Tatsuya is more credible than her, and everyone would know that if they saw him in real combat. After Miyuki's outburst, Rin tells her that they can't put Tatsuya on the student council because reserve students aren't allowed. If she still wants to be stubborn about it, she will have to gather the entire student body and overthrow the voting system of their school. Hearing this, Miyuki apologizes for being out of line and tells them she will join the student council. Right then, Mari tells them that she can have Tatsuya in the disciplinary committee. Loving the idea, Mayumi tells Tatsuya that he's now in the disciplinary committee, but he argues that he doesn't know what he'll have to do. Hearing this, Mayumi reveals that he just has to maintain discipline in the school, but Tatsuya doesn't believe that the job will be that simple, so Mari tells him that she'll explain everything in detail after school. A few hours later, Tatsuya enters the council room to tell Mari that he can't join the committee, but he's greeted by Vice President Hanzo, who treats him like dirt because he's a weed student. Miyuki sees this and tells Hanzo to not judge Tatsuya since he is actually strong unlike him. This upsets Hanzo, so he tells Miyuki that her brother is a total loser and wouldn't stand a chance against him in battle. At this, Tatsuya challenges Hanzo for a duel, which he eagerly accepts, and later on, Tatsuya tells Miyuki that he's only doing this because he didn't like Hanzo calling her judgment wrong. A few hours later, they meet in the training room, where Mari explains the rules to Hanzo and Tatsuya, telling them not to use attacks that could turn the other into a vegetable. Before the match, Hanzo is sure that he'll defeat Tatsuya since he's a Bloom student while he's an ordinary weed. Just as Mari gives them the signal to start, Hanzo activates his weapon, but Tatsuya turns into Minato and swiftly knocks out Hanzo with his Glock. After checking up on Hanzo, Mari and the girls curiously ask Tatsuya how he got to Hanzo so fast, and Mizuki proudly reveals that Tatsuya practices ninjutsu daily. While the girls are impressed, Azusa eyes Tatsuya's Glock and asks him if it's the famous silver horn which was made by the genius Taurus Silver, whose identity is still hidden from the world. During their conversation, Hanzo wakes up, saying that he finally understands why Miyuki banked her trust in Tatsuya, despite his bad scores on the practical exam. However, instead of apologizing to Tatsuya, the simp says sorry to Miyuki for doubting her judgment and walks out in shame. Later on, Mari takes Tatsuya to the office of the Disciplinary Committee, but looking at the mess, Tatsuya tells her that as an aspiring magic engineer, he needs a clean space to work. With that, he gets to work, while Mari explains that she wanted him to join her because she doesn't like the divide between the Bloom students and the Weed students. Hearing this, Tatsuya tells her that her plan can backfire, since the Bloom students won't accept his authority. Before Mari can argue, her brother and his friend arrive, and immediately ask her why she'd let a weed student in the disciplinary committee. Mari warns them to be careful, revealing how Hanzo got his backside whipped by Tatsuya, which shocks the boys. They quickly apologize and tell Tatsuya they're glad to have a strong member on their side, surprising Tatsuya, while Mari says that she's done with the Bloom students and their superiority complex. That night, Miyuki asks Tatsuya to make her spell casting device faster, since she wants to be as quick as he is during battles. Tatsuya agrees, so Miyuki nervously removes her plot armor and gets into the configuration chamber for her upgrade. After that, she angrily squeezes her ugly B-cups against Tatsuya's back,
Yeah, boy.
asking him if he sees her as a woman or not. When Tatsuya struggles to reply, Miyuki angrily boosts his stats and then apologizes for acting jealous. The next day, Mari holds an official meeting, where she introduces Tatsuya and Shun as her latest recruits. While Shin looks at Tatsuya with anger, he ignores him as you ignore your girlfriend. Following the introduction, Mari tells the boys they can carry their spell casting device on school grounds to keep everyone in check. However, she warns them that if they misuse their weapons, they will be punished publicly. Hearing that, Tatsuya asks if he can use the committee's equipment, and Mari allows him, but adds that those casting devices are more outdated than your UNC's humor. Despite this, Tatsuya grabs 2 casting devices, and later on, Shun tells him to stop being a show-off, since booting up 2 devices at once is impossible. A few hours later, Tatsuya hears Erika's scream as she tries to free herself from a few girls who desperately want her to join their club. Activating his casting device, Tatsuya quickly grabs Erika and brings her to safety, so God rewards Tatsuya by letting him have a sneak peek of Erika's banzongas. However, Erika angrily tells Tatsuya that he's going to be her bodyguard as a punishment for looking at her nom-noms. After this, she brings Tatsuya to a dojo where they watch a boring fight take place, when suddenly a fight breaks out between the Kendo Club and the Kenjutsu Club over who should occupy the dojo. As a result, the captain of the Kenjutsu Club, Kirihara, challenges Mibu, the president of the Kendo Club, to fight with him and smugly tells her that he won't activate his casting device during the battle. However, when Mibu lands the first hit, Kirihara goes against his word and activates his casting device, bringing out a sonic blade to ruin her. Seeing this, Tatsuya immediately pins Kirihara to the ground and arrests him for misusing magic, which upsets the other members of the Kenjutsu Club. While they lash out at him for going against a Bloom student, Mibu tries to intervene, but her captain stops her from doing so. Several hours later, Tatsuya stands before the council to tell them everything that happened between the Kenjutsu Club and the Kendo Club. After hearing him out, the president of the extracurricular activities, Katsudo, reveals that they will immediately suspend Kirihara, but all Tatsuya can think of is how Katsudo looks like an ape with a humongous wee-wee. Later that night, Tatsuya and his friends visit a restaurant, where Leo tells him that he got lucky today or else Kirihara would have flatlined with his lethal spell. However, Tatsuya counters that there's no such thing as luck, and explains how Kirihara's spell had a restrictive effective range. At this, Miyuki proudly tells everyone that her brother can neutralize any magic spell, and as Tatsuya looks at her with lovey-dovey eyes, Leo yells at them for looking like an average couple from Alabama. Returning back to the topic, Leo asks Tatsuya if he used Antonite to neutralize Kirihara's magic, but Tatsuya reminds him that, as an ordinary civilian, he can't access Antonite since it's a high-grade military resource, so he just created his own magic, which helped him block Kirihara's magic. While his friends are shocked, Tatsuya tells them to keep their mouths shut about what he told them, and Erika agrees, revealing that if the enemy country learns such a type of magic exists, they can use it to destroy their country. The next day, Tatsuya is on patrolling duty as usual when he gets a call from Mari, ordering him to break up a fight near the gymnasium. As Tatsuya rushes there, he gets attacked by a mysterious man, but before he can activate his spell-casting device, Tatsuya immediately blocks it, causing the man to run for his life. That's when Tatsuya notices something odd about his bracelet, but decides not to investigate further for now. After wrapping up his duty, Tatsuya meets with Miyuki, and before they can smash like normal siblings, Mibu appears and thanks him for saving her hide the other day. Before leaving, she tells Tatsuya to meet her after school, which makes Miyuki jealous. So after school, when Tatsuya is about to go see Mibu, Miyuki expresses that she doesn't like him getting popular. Hearing this, Tatsuya assures Miyuki that Mibu probably wants him on the kendo club, but she argues that if his real powers come to light, everyone will try to get close to him for the wrong reasons. After assuring her that he'll be careful, Tatsuya meets with Mibu, who thanks him for helping her. She explains that the disciplinary committee often interferes in their affairs just to score points, and then asks him to join the kendo club. Since he knew this was coming, Tatsuya asks Mibu why she wants him in the club, so she explains that at their academy, students with strong magic are treated like gods, while reserve students are looked down on, even if they excel in other skills. After hearing this, Tatsuya admits that he thought she was just another hot chick with a big sword, but he was wrong about her. While she blushes, Tatsuya warns her to prepare herself for what might happen if they go against the system. The next day, the members of the council tease Tatsuya for flirting with Mibu, much to Miyuki's annoyance, who then unleashes her icy fury. Calming her down, Tatsuya reveals that they were just talking about the flawed system of their school, and explains how Mibu was upset about the disciplinary committee abusing their power for points. Mayume admits that some students may be causing trouble around the academy, and hints that someone else might be manipulating them. Hearing this, Tatsuya quickly says that it's Balache, the anti-magic group, who is behind this, as they want to wipe out magic from society. Since it's classified information, Mayume asks how he knows, but Tatsuya brushes it off and tells them to focus on solving the problem instead. After ending his conversation, Tatsuya enters the infirmary and is greeted by Nurse Juicy Jugs, who tells him that, per academy laws, she needs to do a counseling session with him. Tatsuya quickly answers all her questions and turns to leave, when she tells him that if he ever wants to hide from crazy chicks like Mibu, he can hide in her bazookas. Tatsuya just sighs and tells her that nothing is going on with him and Mibu. Later that night, Tatsuya pulls up a file on Blanche and shows it to Miyuki, revealing that recently he saw a person in the academy wearing a wristband that's used by Egolite, a subgroup that works with Blanche to secretly infiltrate the academy. Shocked by this, Miyuki asks what they want, so Tatsuya explains that their intention is to stop the usage of magic because they believe it's causing a divide between magic users and those who don't have magic skills. However, what they're doing can seriously endanger their country, and if things become serious, they might have to deal with their family, the Yotsuba clan. The next day, Tatsuya has a coffee with Mibu, where she explains her plan of demanding a structural change directly from the academy. When Tatsuya asks if she wants better teachers allotted to the reserve courses, Mibu hesitantly reveals that she just wants the discrimination to stop. So Tatsuya reminds her that the discrimination is only done by their fellow students. Following this, he tells Mibu he doesn't want to change the system, and walks away, leaving her disappointed. Just as he returns to the class, he hears an activist yell through the speakers that they're looking for students to volunteer against the discrimination at the academy. Tatsuya quickly rushes to meet with the student council and finds out that the activists have taken over the broadcasting room, refusing to come out until their demand for fair treatment between all students is met. While the council is wondering what to do next, Katsudo states they should peacefully negotiate with the activists, and once the problem is solved, they should punish them accordingly. Liking his idea, Tatsuya calls Mibu, who is with the activists, and tells her they will negotiate with them, while also promising her that her freedom is guaranteed once she comes out. After the call, Tatsuya tells the council they should prepare for a mass arrest, which shocks them as Mari points out that he just promised Mibu to set the activists free. Tatsuya then tells the council that he only promised Mibu her freedom, not her comrades. So when Mibu opens the door, her friends are immediately arrested, which makes her attack Tatsuya. Katsuto quickly intervenes and tells Mibu that they're willing to negotiate with them. They deserve to be punished for hijacking the broadcasting room. Just then, Mayume appears and orders the activists to be freed, telling them that she's willing to negotiate with them. The next morning, Tatsuya and Miyuki ask Mayumi what the outcome of their negotiations was, and she reveals that it led nowhere since the activists didn't have a solid plan of what changes they wanted, so she will later have an open discussion with them. At this, Tatsuya asks her if she'll be able to handle all the activists herself, and Mayume reveals that she's good at negotiations, but if they manage to beat her, then it means the system needs to change. Several hours later, Tatsuya notices a group of reserve students trying to recruit others for the open discussion, and among them, he spots a boy pressuring Mizuki. As he steps in to help, the boy smiles and walks away, but for some reason, Tatsuya recalls the day he was attacked. So he asks Mizuki who the guy was, and she tells him it's Kino, the captain of the kendo club, who has the same hypersensitive eyes as her, which is why he wanted her to join his club. After hearing this, Tatsuya becomes suspicious of Kino, and so that night he seeks Yakumo's help, who is not just the priest but also a skilled shinobi. Yakumo then reveals that Kino's stepbrother, Hajime, is the leader of Blanche's Japan branch, and warns Tatsuya to be careful, since he could be planning something big for tomorrow. The open discussion takes place the following day, and Mayume firmly but gently counters all the points made by her opposition, but the other members of the council become annoyed, as they can tell the activists are bullying Mayumi. Yet despite their efforts, Mayumi lays out a plan where she'll make sure that discriminatory words like bloom and weed are completely removed from their academy, which earns her a lot of love from the audience. Then, out of nowhere, an explosion goes off outside the hall, sending everyone into shock. Moments later, a group of masked men storms inside while more attackers surround the academy from the outside. Seeing the situation, Tatsuya and Miyuki decide to step in and deal with the intruders who are outside. As they go out, they are greeted by Erika and Leo, who were already beating the daylights out of the terrorists. Just then, the nurse with fat jugs arrives and mysteriously tells Tatsuya not to waste his energy here, since the terrorists are after the library. After this, she tells Tatsuya to show mercy on Mibu, who is also in the library, revealing that despite being a runner-up in the Kendo Championship, Mibu was poorly treated by other students for being a reserve student, and that's why she got influenced by people with wrong motives. After hearing her out, Tatsuya tells Nurse Ono she's too easygoing on Mibu and makes his way to the library with the others following. Along the way, they run into more terrorists, but Leo wipes them out with his panzer casting device. Arriving at the library, Tatsuya uses heightened vision to detect where the enemies are hiding, and then reveals that Mibu and a few other terrorists are holed up in the special reading room. Confused, Miyuki wonders if the terrorists are a bunch of nerds, but Tatsuya explains that they're after the Academy's classified information. Following their small talk, Erika sprints ahead to clear out the path, while in the special room, Mibu starts having second thoughts after seeing her group steal data on cutting-edge magic when their goal was to fight against the discrimination. Just then, the door breaks down, and Tatsuya says his cool line before taking care of the terrorists and destroying their information storage box. Then, without looking at Mibu, Tatsuya tells her that equality doesn't exist in this world, and she was just being used by evildoers. Mibu crashes out and tells Tatsuya that he must understand what she feels, since he's always getting compared to his talented sister. But Miyuki tells her that even if the whole world is against Tatsuya, she will stand by his side and treat him with respect. What's more, is that a lot of people recognize that Tatsuya is incredible, and that's what matters in the end. After saying all this, Miyuki tells Mibu she feels sorry for her and reminds her that Tatsuya immediately acknowledged her sword skills and beauty. Despite this, Mibu yells that those are superficial things, causing Mibu to say that, in the end, she judged herself more than anyone else. Right then, one of the terrorists throws a cast-jamming ring towards Mibu, which allows her to escape, and when Miyuki tries to go after her, Tatsuya stops her, stating that Erika will take care of it. Sure enough, Erika intercepts Mibu and fights with her, making her realize that Erika's technique is a lot like Mari's. However, Erika tells her that she's better, and seconds later, she defeats Mibu, revealing that Mari trains at her Kenjutsu dojo and is on a lower rank. Traumatized by her defeat, Mibu ends up fainting, and, in the meantime, Kino is apprehended by the Disciplinary Committee for being an ally of the Blanche. Several hours later, Mibu wakes up in the infirmary and tells Tatsuya and the council everything, that it was Kino who pushed the Kendo Club to fight against the discrimination caused by magic. Mibu further adds that she got influenced by Kino, because a year ago, she asked Mari to teach her sword skills, but she rudely brushed her off, saying that she can't teach someone like her. This is why she felt the need to fight against the discrimination. However, Mari counters that she only said that because she believed Mibu's sword skills were far better than hers. Mibu then starts to cry, realizing she misunderstood Mari's kindness and got herself mixed up in a crime that is only cool in Grand Theft Auto. While volunteering to be a tissue for Mibu, Tatsuya announces that he's going to take care of the remaining terrorists, because if the police got involved, Mibu could be jailed. While Tatsuya's friends volunteer to go with him, Nurse Ono further helps them by revealing Blanche's hideout. With everything in motion, Katsudo runs to get the car started when Kirihara asks to join them, revealing that he wants to punish the scums who used Mibu. Once everyone's on board, Katsudo puts Tatsuya in charge of the operation, so he assigns everyone their roles for the mission. Leo and Erika are told to keep the escape route clear, while Katsuto and Kirihara are responsible for guarding the rear exit. As they arrive at the abandoned factory, Tatsuya and Miyuki head straight inside and are greeted by Hajime, who welcomes them warmly before telling Tatsuya to join Blanche. Unfazed by his words, Tatsuya keeps his gun pointed on Hajime, which makes him realize that Tatsuya isn't going to be convinced by just words. So he tries to hypnotize Tatsuya using his eyes, but it doesn't work, as Tatsuya reveals he already suspected Hajime was using cheap tricks, since there's no way Mibu could have misunderstood Mari that badly without someone messing with her mind. Now that his trump card has failed, Hajime tries to run away, so Miyuki tells Tatsuya to go after him, and she will take care of the remaining goons. As Tatsuya leaves to catch Hajime, Miyuki freezes the goons with her ice spell called Nephilim. In the meantime, Tatsuya finds Hajime and his minions, who try to stop him using cast-jamming guns with Antonite in them. Seeing their weapons, Tatsuya immediately knows who is pulling Hakin's strings, and when he utters their names, Hajime loses his cool and orders his goons to flatline Tatsuya. Before they can even lift their guns, Tatsuya uses his silver horn and takes down everyone in a split second, scaring Hajime further. Just then, Kirihara kicks the exit door and severes Hajime's gooning hand for what he did to Mibu. With the offenders apprehended, Tatsuya decides to visit Mibu, assuring her that she and Kino won't be prosecuted for their crimes. Several days later, Mibu gets discharged from the hospital, so her new friends come to visit her and find her getting chummy with Kirihara. Just then, Mibu's father pulls Tatsuya aside, thanking him for rescuing his daughter. However, Tatsuya tells him that he didn't do anything. Mibu's father then tells him that he heard about him from an old friend in the military, which scares Tatsuya for a moment until the old man assures him that he'll keep his mouth shut. Afterwards, Tatsuya joins the banter between Erika and Kirihara, as she asks Mibu why she chose that Kirihara over Tatsuya. She then reveals that she was in love with Tatsuya for a moment, but she quickly realized she could never be as awesome as him. And that's why she later fell for Kirihara, who is just a simp that's trying to make her happy. Later on, Miyuki asks Tatsuya why he's forcing himself to attend school, since with his skills, he can drop out and become as successful as Mark Zuckerberg. Tatsuya then tells Miyuki that he loves living an ordinary life with her, making Miyuki happy, as they walk back home like a couple. A few days later, Miyuki has a late-night training session with Yakumo when Tatsuya notices the presence of an intruder and is about to attack when Nurse Ono reveals herself. Upon seeing her, Yakumo reveals that she's an old student of his, and Ono apologizes for shocking them, but then curiously asks Miyuki if she is participating in the Nine Schools tournament. After Miyuki tells Ono that she's going to represent their academy in 2 competitions, Tatsuya demands to know why she and her chug jugs suddenly popped out of nowhere. In response to his suspicion, Yakumo reveals that Ono works as an investigator for the police department. Ono then clarifies that she is an undercover cop, and asks them to keep this information confident. However, Tatsuya tells her that in exchange, he wants to be updated with everything that Blanche does, so she agrees. The next day at school, Tatsuya's class play football where a boy named Yoshida outshines everyone, so Leo and Tatsuya decide to chat him up before he gets recruited for Blue Lock. As the boys introduce themselves, Yoshida confesses that he has been meaning to talk to them for a while, as he's interested to know how they're putting up with Erika. Just then, Erika arrives, revealing that Yoshida here is her childhood friend, and then complains about how he had been ignoring her for 6 months. Hearing that, Yoshida turns red and tells Erika to cover herself up, while Tatsuya and Leo add that they can see her -10 Gia in her bloomers. Just then, Erika kicks Leo where the sun doesn't shine, as a warning to Yoshida and Tatsuya to not talk about her flat yams. Later that day, Mayume tells everyone that the athletes for the 9 schools competition have been selected, but they're unable to find good engineers who will provide fine-tuning to the spell-casting devices for the athletes. Knowing he's the best at it, Tatsuya tries to quietly sneak away, but Azusa loudly says they should recruit him as the engineer. Tatsuya firmly tells them no, stating that the Bloom students wouldn't want a weed student touching their casting devices, and reminds the council that trust between engineer and user is essential for this process. Just as he's about to leave, Miyuki tells him that she wants him to fine-tune her casting device, and later her pipes, making Tatsuya sigh in defeat. In the end, Mayume, Mari, and Katsudo hold a meeting for the athletes to get familiar with Tatsuya, since he will be their engineer. But as expected, the athletes tell the council they don't want a weed scum near their casting devices. Hearing this, Katsudo tells them Tatsuya will prove his skills in front of everyone by fine-tuning his casting device, but the athletes object to it, arguing that if Tatsuya fails to do a good job, it will leave him permanently disabled. Following this, Mayume tells everyone Tatsuya should fine-tune her casting device, but then Kirihara stops her, stating that both her and Katsuto are important for the academy, which is why he'll be the guinea pig. After heading to the trial room, Tatsuya starts working on fine-tuning Kirihara's casting device with a keyboard, while the cocky Bloom students mock him for using an outdated method. Shortly after, Kirihara tests out his upgraded casting device and admits it feels smoother than before, so everyone agrees to let Tatsuya do his thing. Later that night, Tatsuya gets a call from Major Kazama, who calls him Special Agent and tells him to be on guard during the 9 schools competition, since an international crime group called No Head Dragon has been causing problems lately. The next day, Tatsuya and Mayuki visit the 4 Leaves Technology Center, where everyone treats him like royalty. Just then, the chief arrives and tells Tatsuya to make himself at home, since he was their boss when he was still working as Taurus Silver. Smiling at this, Tatsuya shows him a prototype of a flying device, shocking the chief, who then orders his lab assistants to prepare for a trial run, as this device can change modern magic. After the successful trial run, Tatsuya and Miyuki decide to celebrate by banging at home, but on the way out, they run into their father and Aoki, who is a cheap copy of Alfred. As the butler greets Miyuki, she tells him to say hello to Tatsuya as well, but he rudely tells Miyuki that he won't acknowledge a mere bodyguard. Hearing this, Tatsuya tells Aoki that he'll be in big trouble if he ends up becoming the next head of the Yotsuba family, instead of Miyuki. As Aoki tells him that their Aunt Maya won't let that happen, and calls Tatsuya a heartless magician, Miyuki prepares to turn him into a popsicle, but Tatsuya stops her. He then reminds Aoki that he's heartless because of his mother, the former head of the Yotsuba clan, which makes Aoki bite down his tongue. Just when they turn to leave, their father tells Tatsuya not to hate his dead mother, so he tells him he doesn't hate her. Later at school, Tatsuya formally greets the athletes as their engineer and reveals that, along with fine-tuning their casting devices, he will also be training them. All the girls are psyched to hear this, as they want a Chad like Tatsuya giving them good cardio. So later at the training ground, Tatsuya starts coaching the girls, while Mizuki secretly watches him, until she senses powerful magic coming out of the experiment building. After heading there, Mizuki finds Yoshida trying to summon spirits, but when he senses her presence, he loses control. Just when the spirits are about to harm Mizuki, Tatsuya arrives and shields her, before telling Mizuki that it was stupid of her to sneak up on a spellcaster. After apologizing, Mizuki reveals that she got curious after seeing the blue water spirits, which shocks Yoshida, since it's impossible to detect the color of the spirits without crystal eyes. Hearing this, Tatsuya asks him what that is, so Yoshida explains that Miyuki's eyes can see the true nature of the spirits, which makes her divine amongst people who use spirit magic. A few days later, Tatsuya waits for Mayume to arrive so they can head to the arena for the tournament. She shows up wearing a beautiful dress and flashes her milky jugs, but Tatsuya remains nonchalant to them, upsetting Mayume. After boarding the bus, a stupid idiot loses control of his car and is about to crash into the bus. When all the students rush to activate their spell-casting devices, Mari and Mayumi tell them to stop, or they will trigger a mass jamming effect. As everyone stands down, Katsudo uses magic to slow down the car crash, while Miyuki uses ice to put out the fire, allowing Katsudo to create a barrier that stops the car from crashing into their bus. Once everything is taken care of, Mari can't help but think that Tatsuya played a big role in stopping the accident before Katsudo and Miyuki took action. Several minutes later, they arrive at the location, but when Hanzo sees Miyuki and Tatsuya, he gets sad. Seeing this, Kirihara asks why he looks so defeated, and Hanzo reveals that his pride has been in shambles ever since Tatsuya and Miyuki entered the academy. Kirihara admits there's something special about them and tells Hanzo that he believes Tatsuya has experienced actual combat situations unlike them. Meanwhile, Tatsuya tells Miyuki that the car crash was deliberate and done through magic by the driver, which means it was a suicide attack. After checking into the hotel, Tatsuya and Miyuki are greeted by Erika, and Tatsuya waves a quick hello before leaving for his work. Just then, Mizuki arrives, and seeing her in a tank top, Miyuki gets jealous of her rack and tells her to change her clothes. At this, Mizuki reveals that Erika forced her to dress up before the banquet for the athletes, but Mizuki reminds them that outsiders can't join in, so Erika reveals that she's got that front covered. Couple hours later, at the banquet, Tatsuya sees Erika serving drinks, making him realize that she got in using her maid cosplay. She then drags Yoshida to meet Tatsuya, but he quickly runs away since he doesn't want to be seen dressed as a cater waiter. Seeing this, Tatsuya tells Erika that she's giving broke bum vibes for crashing into the banquet uninvited, and Erika then reveals that she and Yoshida were forced to attend by their parents. Meanwhile, Miyuki burns with envy as she sees Tatsuya talking to Erika, completely unaware that she has unintentionally rizzed an athlete from another academy. The host then calls everyone's attention, revealing that the chairman of the Magic Association, Mr. Retsu, wants to address them. Everyone becomes excited since Retsu is the patriarch of the 10 master clans, who are the most powerful families of the magic world. Seconds later, a woman comes on the stage, confusing everyone except Tatsuya, who can sense the presence of an old man behind the lady. Moments later, Retsu reveals himself and gives Tatsuya the nod of acknowledgement, before telling everyone that only 5 students noticed him, which means the rest of them need to become better magicians. After the banquet, the female athletes head to the hot spring where Miyuki flaunts her hot body and turns all the chicks straighter than a spaghetti. Meanwhile, Yoshida practices his spirit magic when he senses the presence of evil intruders, but suddenly hesitates to take action. He then recalls Tatsuya taking action against the stronger Bloom students and gets the courage to face the lurkers. After dismantling their weapons with his magic cards, Yoshida becomes sure that someone else boosted the strength of his cards. Just then, Tatsuya reveals himself and praises Yoshida for neutralizing the intruders from a blind spot, while checking up on the unconscious creepers. However, Yoshida argues that if it wasn't for him, his cards wouldn't have worked, but Tatsuya calls him an idiot and explains that he just accelerated the speed a little, before telling him to be more confident in his skills. The next day, the 9 schools competition finally begins with the women's battle board event, which Mari participates in. With the help of movement magic, Mari stabilizes herself on the surfing board and easily overpowers her competitors. After Mari's race, Tatsuya excuses himself and meets with Major Kazuma, along with other high-ranking officers. When he stiffly greets them, the officers tell him to ease up because he's not here as Special Officer Ryuya, but as their friend. As Tatsuya takes a seat, Kazuma informs him that the intruders he caught were from the No-Heads Dragon Syndicate and warns him to be careful during the competition. After the meeting, Tatsuya returns to the stadium for Mayume's speed shooting event, where she easily overtakes her opponent. Later that night, the girls celebrate together since their academy managed to secure 2 victories in just one day. The next day, Mayume shows Tatsuya her uniform for her second match, but when he doesn't react, she tries to build plot with him by helping her stretch. Yet, despite her efforts, Tatsuya remains calm, so Mayume ends up bro-zoning him. Later on, Mayume secures another win, and after her, Kanon, a purple-haired baddie, represents their school for the women's pillar break competition. Despite her winning the race, Rin tells Tatsuya that their academy won't be able to win the overall tournament, since their male athletes are disappointing. When Tatsuya asks Rin what they can do to win, her subordinate reveals that they need to outperform other academies in 4 matches to win the overall tournament. Later that night, Miyuki and the others come to Tatsuya's room to hang out, and Erika notices a new type of casting device. Before she can go around poking, Tatsuya throws it towards Leo and tells him to try it out. They arrive at the training compound, where Leo throws the casting device in the air, and seeing it detach on its own, Leo becomes amazed. Tatsuya then explains that this casting device is unique and tells Leo to go all out on the live test. The next day, Mari participates in the semifinals for the women's battleboard event. However, this time, a contestant loses balance because of over-acceleration. Mari immediately rushes to help, only for them to collide and get tossed onto the sidewalk. By the time Mari wakes up, she finds herself at the hospital, with Mayume next to her, who reveals that she broke her ribs, which is why she can no longer participate in the competition. Hearing this, Mari wonders if she shouldn't have saved the stupid girl, but Mayume reveals that if it wasn't for her intervention, the girl would have been cooked as a vegetable. She then adds that Tatsuya was the one who carried her to the hospital, which causes Mari to blush hard. Turning serious, Mayume asks her if she felt something unnatural before losing balance. When Mari confirms the water pressure felt weird, Mayumi reveals that Tatsuya believes a third party casted an illegal spell to make her lose balance. In the meantime, Tatsuya analyzes the video of Mari falling and confirms with his friends that someone else intentionally made Mari fall. Kei, another engineer and Kanon's fiancé, wonders if the culprit was hiding inside the water, since he couldn't have casted the spell from outside, since the competition is regulated by skilled magicians. Just then, Yoshida and Mizuki enter the room, and Tatsuya fills them in before asking Yoshida if it's possible for the culprit to use spirit magic to manipulate the water current. When Yoshida confirms that it's possible, Tatsuya says that he believes the girl didn't collide with Mari intentionally, but her casting device was tampered with. Kei agrees with him, stating that a professional player would never make such a rookie mistake. Hearing this, Miyuki asks who could have done something like that, and Tatsuya claims that it must have been a staff member of the tournament, shocking everyone. Later that night, the siblings are called by the council, where Rin informs them that they're placing high importance on the upcoming Mirage Bat competition, since it's the only event that can help them win the overall tournament. Mayume then tells Miyuki that she will be competing in that competition, as Mari can no longer participate in it. At first, Miyuki refuses it, stating that she's not qualified, but Tatsuya steps in and tells Miyuki that she's going to win, since he is going to be her engineer. The next day, Tatsuya works on a casting device belonging to a girl named Shizuka. Afterwards, she heads to the stadium for the rookie shooting competition, and everyone looks at her with anticipation, since it'll be the first time they'll see Tatsuya's engineering skills in action. As the match begins, Shizuku shocks everyone with her precise shooting skills, while Rin reveals that her accuracy rate went up by miles after Tatsuya's fine-tuning. As Shizuku clears round 1, Tatsuya praises her and tells her that she will easily win the final round, as he just upgraded her casting device so she can go all out. Just a few hours later, Shizuku overpowers her opponent in a swift second, and later Mayume praises Tatsuya, saying that he should fine-tune her holes next. Tatsuya politely declines her offer, while Rin reveals that a university approached them because they wanted to know more about the engineer that fine-tuned Shizuku's casting device. Upon hearing this, Tatsuya tells them not to reveal his name, since he doesn't want to be known as the developer, and so the girls decide to drop the subject. Meanwhile, the students of 3rd High Academy wonder how Shizuku won that match. Two of the students, Masaki and George, speculate that the only reason Tatsuya's school won is because of the engineer who used a generalized device for Shizuku's spellcasting device. Masaki then states they should do more research on who the engineer is, since they need to be prepared for the next match. A few days later, a student named Honoka asks Tatsuya to fine-tune her casting device before her rookie battleboard competition. However, Tatsuya tells her that she's being disrespectful towards Azusa, since she's supposed to be her engineer, but the pipsqueak assures him that she didn't take any offense. Feeling assured, Tatsuya tells Honoka that he'll help her with battle strategy, which later allows her to win. After the match, Honoka comes up to Tatsuya and bawls her eyes out in gratitude for helping her win this round, while Miyuki feels jealous of Tatsuya's growing popularity. Elsewhere, the council discusses the results from the boys' competition, and Katsudo states that if they don't help the boys win future matches, their efforts will all be in vain. At the same time, a group of businessmen scheme to make sure that Tatsuya's academy doesn't win the 9 schools competition. Later that night, Miyuki asks Tatsuya to spend a little time with her, where she asks him if he turned down the offer of being known as a renowned developer because of their Aunt Maya. After confirming her suspicion, Tatsuya reveals that if people found out he belongs to the Yotsuba clan, Maya would wage a war against him, and while he can defeat her, he doesn't want the whole clan coming after them. At that moment, Miyuki realizes how much Tatsuya has been sacrificing for their comfort, so she hugs him and says she's always on his side. The following day, Shizuku dresses up for the rookie pillar break competition and easily destroys her opponent, thanks to Tatsuya's help. After her, Miyuki goes next and secures one more win for their academy, which calls for a celebration. So that night, they all gather for a feast, and Tatsuya finds himself completely surrounded by simps, gushing about his engineering skills. Seeing this, Shun gets jealous and later tells his friends to win the monolith code competition, so they can prove to everyone that Bloom students are better than that weed scum, Tatsuya. The next morning, Tatsuya and Miyuki receive a sudden visit from Masaki and George, who reveal they wanted to meet the genius engineer of this year's tournament. Tatsuya humbly accepts the praise and tells George he's the genius around here since he discovered cardinal codes at a tender age. As Miyuki goes ahead, Masaki looks at her with longing, which doesn't go unnoticed by Tatsuya, while George tells him they're going to win the monolith competition before walking away. During this time, Honoka wins the final round of the rookie battle board competition. Mayume later congratulates the girls for winning all the rookie matches and reveals that the tournament committee was so impressed they will let them have the first place without needing to compete in the finals. However, Shizuku tells the president she wishes to compete against Miyuki for the pillar break competition, so Miyuki tells Mayume she's going to participate as well. The next day, Miyuki and Shizuku face each other for the final round, where Shizuku uses 2 casting devices at once, yet in the end, Miyuki wins the round with just her Niflheim spell. After the match, Tatsuya thinks about how Masaki and George are both formidable individuals, with Masaki being known as the Crimson Prince for defeating enemies on a battlefield, while George was debating about magic sequences with Stephen Hawking on Epstein Island. After thinking about how strong those two are, Tatsuya feels sorry for Shun and his boys as they'll be competing against them. On the day of the monolith competition, Tatsuya arrives in the control room, only to learn that their players got buried under a building during the match. While Shizuku speculates that it was no accident, Mayume tells Tatsuya to come with her. As they enter a private room, Mayume asks Tatsuya if he also believes this was intentional, so he tells her it can't be a coincidence, and reveals everything about the masked intruders and the threat of the No-Heads Dragon criminal gang. Elsewhere, the same group of men celebrates, thinking that they've successfully removed Tatsuya's school from the rookie monolith competition, which was the most high-ranking match of the tournament. Couple days later, Tatsuya fine-tunes Honoka and her friend, Sadomi's casting devices, before their rookie Mirage Bat competition. Once the match starts, a few students observe that Honoka and Sadomi's activation sequence resembles a lot like the work of Taurus Silver. Azusa hears this and her tiny brain starts working, as she recalls how all the casting devices fine-tuned by Tatsuya had advanced activation sequence, which only an A-rank mage would know how to do. As Honoka and Sadomi win the match, Azusa becomes sure that Tatsuya is the Taurus Silver. Several hours later, Mayume holds a meeting, where she asks Tatsuya to participate in the monolith competition, because they finally have a shot at winning the tournament. However, Tatsuya turns her down, stating that the Bloom students wouldn't appreciate a reserve student participating in such a grand event, but Katsudo tells him to stop hiding behind such stupid things and use this match to show everyone that the reserve students aren't less than the Bloom students. After realizing Katsudo is right, Tatsuya agrees, but states that he will only participate alongside Leo and Yoshida. With everyone on board, Tatsuya calls his friends to discuss their formation and battle tactics. Leo is told he'll be playing defense, but when Yoshida is informed that he's going to handle offense and defense, he asks Tatsuya why he was selected, since he uses ancient magic, which isn't as strong as modern magic. However, Tatsuya corrects him, revealing that modern and ancient magic have an equal advantage and disadvantage, but in the monolith competition, his ancient magic will have more edge since it can help them ambush the enemy better. After feeling assured, Yoshida agrees to do his best, and the next day, they enter the battlefield. Tatsuya at once shocks everyone by using a spell called Graham Demolition, which is an extremely powerful counterspell, but cannot be wielded by just anyone. As Tatsuya and his homies win this round, Masaki asks George what they should do to counter a beast like Tatsuya. After analyzing Tatsuya's moves, George states that while he has good combat skills, his magic isn't that powerful, so they just need to avoid Tatsuya's traps and bamboozle him with their magic, and victory will be theirs. A couple of days later, Tatsuya and Miyuki are on their way when they hear Erika fighting her brother, Sugu, for abandoning work and coming to see Mari. As she calls him corrupt for being with Mari, Sugu angrily tells her to apologize to Mari, but she refuses. After watching this drama, Tatsuya and Miyuki head to the stadium to see Masaki's team perform in the monolith competition against another academy. As the Crimson Prince wins the round by flaunting his power, Tatsuya immediately realizes that this is his way of saying he wants to face him head-to-head. After the match, Tatsuya meets with Ono and asks her to find out the No-Heads Dragon's base so they can know more about the enemy. However, Ono is shocked and asks Tatsuya how he knows about them, but he tells her that he can't tell her that. Despite her frustration, Ono agrees to help him, while Masaki and George plan to crush Tatsuya in tomorrow's round. In the morning, Tatsuya hands Leo and Yoshida cloaks, causing them to ask if he wants to cosplay as Darth Vader. Tatsuya then reveals that he has inscribed magic circles on the robes, which will increase the potency of their magic and help them block George's invisible bullet that operates on visual confirmation. Hearing this, Mayume tells Tatsuya that Masaki still remains a problem, so he assures her that he'll engage in a close combat with him, where he'll overpower him. After assuring everyone, Tatsuya goes out to practice alone, where he admits to himself that just facing Masaki would be extremely tough, but he also has to be on the lookout for George. Just then, Miyuki comes with a towel and tells Tatsuya that she believes he can defeat George and Masaki, which motivates him to win the competition. Finally, the day arrives, and Leo and Yoshida show up in their emo cloaks while Tatsuya aura farms in his uniform. Seeing this, George wonders what Tatsuya has up his sleeve, but Masaki assures him that no matter what Tatsuya does, they will surely win. At the same time, the patriarch of the 10 master clans, Retsu, watches Tatsuya, wondering if he'll be able to impress him today. Once the match begins, Masaki and Tatsuya fire spells at each other, both trying to overwhelm the other. However, since they're equally strong, their spells end up canceling each other out, until Masaki uses a high-level spell, which dangerously comes close to hurting Tatsuya. This makes him unleash his observation skill, which allows him to predict Masaki's spell attacks before they're casted. While the two Chads are trying to frame-og each other, George fires his invisible bullet at Leo, but he uses his cloak to block George's line of sight before transforming it into a shield. While George is left confused, Yoshida uses this moment to attack him, but Masaki arrives in time and pins down Yoshida and Leo with gravity magic. While they're dealt with, Masaki turns his attention back to Tatsuya, and seeing him rush towards him, Masaki accidentally uses a deadly spell, which fills him with regret, as he's sure that Tatsuya won't survive this attack. However, Tatsuya had already prepared for this scenario and activates a self-restoration spell, which repairs his damaged body. After healing his wounds, Tatsuya closes the distance between himself and Masaki, before rupturing his eardrums with a high-level spell. Inside the control level, Mayume loses her mind after seeing Tatsuya beat Death and the Crimson Prince at the same time. Meanwhile, Yoshida and Leo combine efforts to take down George, securing the victory of their academy. After learning that Tatsuya's school won the competition, the shady businessmen become angry and plan to make them withdraw from the Mirage Bat competition. Meanwhile, Tatsuya looks at the weather and tells Miyuki that everything is eerily calm, which means something is coming their way. However, he assures Miyuki that if anything happens, he'll be there to protect her, so she gives him a side hug like a good sister-girlfriend. On the day of the competition, Tatsuya watches other schools participate in the Mirage Bat competition, while Mizuki discards her glasses so she can make sure there's no foul play. Just then, a contestant loses control of her casting device and is about to get her ugly face pancaked. Luckily, the authorities intervene in time and save her, while Tatsuya gets told by Mizuki that she noticed a glitch in the victim's casting device right before she fell. When Miyuki hears this, she becomes worried for her match, but Tatsuya assures her that he'll take care of everything and takes her casting device for a quick check. As the technician scans Miyuki's device, Tatsuya immediately notices that he's installing something sus and gives him a good beating. Just then, Retsu arrives and asks Tatsuya what's the commotion for, and after learning everything from him, Retsu analyzes Miyuki's casting device and reveals that a virus called Silkworms was used. In the end, Miyuki wins both rounds of the Mirage Bat using Tatsuya's flying magic casting device, shocking everyone, while Tatsuya watches her with pride. Several hours later, the news of Miyuki's victory reaches the businessmen, and they decide to cancel the tournament. To make this happen, they send a modified human to the arena, but he's immediately apprehended by Major Kazama's colleagues. Later that night, Mayumi throws a party for everyone, while Tatsuya meets with Ono, who hands him the location of the No-Heads Dragon base, along with a list of all the top members. Once she drives away, Tatsuya discusses everything with Major Kazama's employee, Kyoko, so she can get a head start. During this time, Retsu meets with Kazuma to discuss Tatsuya, stating that he has the potential of leading the country alongside Masaki, but the Yotsuba clan holds him back by forcing him to babysit his sister. Kazuma admits that everything he said is true, but assures Retsu that they've treated Tatsuya as a valuable asset since he surpasses everyone, including Masaki in terms of skills. Meanwhile, the shady businessmen are revealed as the top members of the No-Heads Dragon Syndicate. Just when they're told that a brat named Tatsuya ruined their plans, Tatsuya shoots down their bodyguard from a faraway building. After being bamboozled, the criminals order their modified human warriors to flatline Tatsuya, but they can't do it, since he's standing on a different building. One of the fat criminals then grabs a sniper and aims at Tatsuya, but before he pulls the trigger, Tatsuya shoots his eye, making him wail in pain. One by one, Tatsuya wipes out the criminals, but leaves one alive, and asks him who their boss is. Out of fear, the man blurts out the name Richard's son, before meeting his end. Watching all of this, Hyuko shudders in horror, as she realizes that all the experiments done on Tatsuya have made him into a demon. The next day, all the special agents sit down to discuss the No-Heads Dragon Syndicate, and Tatsuya apologizes for acting recklessly. However, everyone assures Tatsuya he did a good job taking out the gang, since they were producing sorcery booster supplies made from magicians' brains. Later that night, everyone attends the closing ceremony for the tournament, where Tatsuya urges Mizuki to dance with Masaki, earning his gratitude. In the meantime, he dances with all the girls who would do anything to smash him, until Katsudo requests a conversation with him. He then tells Tatsuya to join the 10 master clans by marrying Ma Yume. When Tatsuya asks why he's bringing up marriage, Katsudo explains that after defeating Masaki, the future head of one of the 10 master clans, he will eventually face the anger of all 10 clans for taking down the future patriarch. So, to protect himself and Miyuki, he should marry Ma Yume and join the Segusa clan. A couple of days later, 2 officers, Chiba and Inagaki, carry out an operation to catch wanted criminals at the dock. After taking out the armed watchmen, the officers infiltrate the ship, only to find out their enemies have escaped. While at the academy, Miyuki finds Tatsuya studying alchemy-related documents and asks him why he's suddenly so interested in the subject. Tatsuya explains that he wants to know how to make the Philosopher's Stone, as it contains the ability to store magic sequences that will help mages activate spells faster. Impressed by his knowledge, Miyuki gets on her knees to give him a guac, but the fool sister zones his sister by just patting her head. Miyuki then informs him that Rin is looking for him to talk about the upcoming thesis competition. Thanking her, Tatsuya arrives at the meeting, where a teacher named Kazuo explains that the thesis competition is for writers and requests Tatsuya to participate in it, since they'll be up against the top 9 magic schools. Rin then takes over the conversation, informing Tatsuya that she was the one who recommended her, as Kei explains that this is a 2-person competition, where one would write the thesis and the other would build a presentation. To further convince Tatsuya, Rin reveals that she's working on the same thesis he has been researching on, and he ends up agreeing to help her. After getting briefed on the venue and dates, Tatsuya breaks the news to his friends that he has been selected for the thesis competition. While they glaze him, Tatsuya remains completely nonchalantly, so Yoshida explains to him that it's a big deal because the winner gets featured in a renowned magic journal. Hours later, Tatsuya and Miyuki return home and are greeted by a grumpy hag named Sayuri. Without acknowledging her, Miyuki tells Tatsuya that she's going to get the dinner started, and leaves, prompting Sayuri to ask if they still resent her. Tatsuya casually reveals that it's natural for Miyuki to hate her since their father remarried her 6 months after their mother died. Unfazed by his words, Sayuri then tells Tatsuya to drop out and rejoin the research lab. However, he reminds her that he's appointed by the Yotsuba to guard Miyuki, and that's why he can't leave her alone. Despite her annoyance, Sayuri shows him a relic called Nino Magatama, and explains that it has the ability to store magic sequences, hoping it'll convince Tatsuya. However, Tatsuya tells Sayuri to leave the relic with him if she's that desperate, which leaves her fuming. As she rushes out, Tatsuya tells Miyuki he's going to go after Sayuri to make sure she doesn't isekai anyone with her car. After hopping on his bike, Tatsuya follows Sayuri when she's intercepted by a van. Seconds later, 2 goons rush to flatline her, but Tatsuya immediately takes care of them, and just when he's about to check on Sayuri, he's shot by a sniper. Activating his restoration spell, Tatsuya heals himself, before locating the sniper and yeeting him. After returning home, he shows Miyuki the relic, explaining that Sayuri was asked to replicate it by the military as it'll allow them to deploy magic weapons without needing the mages. while Tatsuya tells Miyuki that he has decided to help Sayuri. Elsewhere, a gangster named Chen plots to get the relic at any cost. The next day at school, Mayume approaches Tatsuya and asks him if he's all set for the Thesis competition. When Tatsuya tells her he's looking forward to working with Rin, Mayume becomes jealous and asks him why he's not trying to eat her cheesecakes. Pointing at the camera, Tatsuya whispers in her ear that he would eat that kitty till he drowns in her water. After flirting with Mayume, Tatsuya boots up his computer and realizes someone is trying to hack his system. He eventually takes them down and later shares this information with Ono, asking her to locate the hacker with him. When she refuses to help him, Tatsuya meets with Kei and tells him that someone was trying to steal his documents on magic theory, and he believes the hacker has something to do with the upcoming competition. Before they can discuss further, Kanon enters and immediately love bombs her fiancé, while Mari informs Tatsuya that the disciplinary committee will guard them and their research material. After school, Tatsuya leaves a store when he notices someone stalking them, and immediately informs the couple about it. Assuming it's a spy, Kanon runs after her, causing the girl to hop on her scooter, but Kei tries to hold her off using his gravitational magic. Out of options, the girl activates her rocket tires and takes off, only to crash later on. Just then, a van arrives, and the girl gets inside it, while Chen, who had been watching everything, asks his goon if the girl is reliable for their mission. The goon assures him that the girl was handpicked by Gongjin, which means they can trust her. A few days later, Mizuki tells Tatsuya that she feels someone's creepy gaze on them, and Yoshida further adds that the spirits around the school also seem distraught. After school, they all decide to visit a cafe, but then Erika and Leo excuse themselves and head outside, while Tatsuya thinks they're secretly banging. In the meantime, Erika and Leo confront an old boomer, asking him why he had been following them. When he refuses to answer their questions, the duo beats him up until the man surrenders. He then reveals his name as Jiro, and explains that the Magic Association hired him to ensure their research wouldn't fall into the hands of the East. While the dummies are listening intently, Jiro pulls a smoke bomb before disappearing. Yet only a moment later, he gets discovered by one of Chen's goons, Lu, who flatlines him in an instant. A few days later, Rin manages to get the plasma device working thanks to Tatsuya's help. While everyone watches her in awe, Mibu notices an ugly shoddy in the crowd and runs after her. Her friends follow after her, as she confronts the girl named Chiaki, asking her to hand over the password-breaking device that she had been using. As Chiaki gets in a fighting stance, Mibu tells her that whoever she's spying for will use and discard her, but Chiaki retorts back, saying that she's doing everything for her own selfish reasons. With that, Chiaki throws tear gas at them, neutralizing Mibu and her friends, but then Leo tackles her down so hard that she loses consciousness. Seeing Leo on top of Chiaki, Erika tells him that he looks like Diddy's best friend, which makes him get off of her. After taking Chiaki to the infirmary, Kanon returns to the research site where she sees Sekimoto, a senior from the disciplinary committee, scolding Erika and Leo for being around the plasma device. When Kanon checks up on them, Sekimoto arrogantly says that reserve students shouldn't be here, and Kanon tells him there's no such rules, but then asks Erika and Leo to go for now. While they walk away, Sekimoto tries to peek at the research data gathered by Rin, who quickly closes the tab, asking him why he's so interested in their work suddenly. In the meantime, Kanon and Kei head to the infirmary to check on Chiaki, but find the plotful nurse, Asuka, restraining her. After carrying Chiaki back to bed, Kanon asks her why she was trying to steal the data on the plasma device. Chiaki then reveals that she just wanted to make things hard for Tatsuya, since because of him, her sister, Koharu, got scolded for her negligence during the 9 schools competition. Hearing this, Kei tries to explain that Koharu shouldn't have slacked as an engineer and they're all to blame, but Chiaki refuses to accept that, so Asuka tells them she's going to put this dumb hoe in a psychiatric facility for the night. After leaving Chiaki under Asuka's care, Kanon and Kei tell Tatsuya and their friends everything, but he brushes it off and says they don't need to take any drastic actions for now. 2 days later, Erika trains Leo at her dojo, as they are both worried about another spy infiltrating their academy. At the same time, Yoshida takes training from Katsudo, and after being run through the ringer, he heads to get some food. Mizuki then comes to check on Yoshida, only to end up falling on top of him and getting her wuba squeezed by him. Several days later, Tatsuya and Miyuki visit Yakumo to show him the relic, and he warns them to keep it safe because they are up against very powerful people. After talking to the bald monk, they head back, but are intercepted by a familiar crow, so Tatsuya speeds up his bike, and they arrive at the Four Leaves Technology Center. Upon seeing him, the chief reveals they're being hacked, but doesn't know what the hackers are after. In the meantime, Tatsuya obliterates the familiar, but it's too late, since Chen knows he has brought the relic to the Technology Center. Following this, he tells his goons to flatline Chiaki as he doesn't want her running her mouth. Some days later, Tatsuya enters the Academy's research lab and is greeted by his robot, Pixie. As he gets to work, he suddenly gets a whiff of sleeping gas and quickly tells Pixie to activate the ventilation system. After dispatching that order, Tatsuya pretends to sleep, while Sekimoto enters the lab and tries to steal the date when he's caught by Kanon and Tatsuya. Meanwhile, Mari and Sugu arrive at the hospital to check on Chiaki, and at the same time, Gongjin happens to be visiting her as well. Just then, Gongjin spots Lu searching for Chiaki's room and immediately smashes the alarm button, which alerts the couple. As Sugu rushes ahead to deal with Lu, Mari provides him with backup, but somehow Lu manages to escape. After the battle, Sugu tells Mari that they just encountered the infamous man-eating tiger who works for the Great Asian Alliance forces. Later that night, Chen tells Lu to forget about Chiaki and get rid of Sekimoto since he has been taken to the detention center. In the meantime, Gongjin finally makes contact with Chiaki and offers her some mysterious flowers that make her forget about him. The next day, Tatsuya accompanies Mayume and Mari to the detention center, where he sees Mari using mind-bending magic to make Sekimoto confess to his crimes. Just then, Lu shows up and tries to take Tatsuya, Mari, and Mayume at the same time, so they take their sweet time breaking him apart. After coming home, Tatsuya takes a nap when Miyuki creeps up on him and is about to kiss him, but then Tatsuya wakes up. As Miyuki runs inside her room, Tatsuya comes and consoles her, saying everyone gets diddled by their family now and then. A couple of nights later, Chen has a meeting with Gongjin, where he requests more soldiers from him. After telling Chen he'll take care of it, Gongjin tells him about Lu's transportation details so he can free him, and in exchange, he asks him to leave Chinatown alone. However, Chen tells him that he can't promise anything since they're the Magic Association and the venue of Thesis competition, which are both near Chinatown. The next day at the academy, Leo and Erika ask Tatsuya if they can accompany him as his bodyguards for tomorrow's Thesis competition. Surprised by their request, Tatsuya asks why, and Leo mumbles something about breaking his back during dojo training. So Tatsuya tells them they can come, and warns them to be careful, since the competition always gets targeted by international spies. Around the same time, Rin visits Chiaki, and tells her there's no point in playing villain, as Tatsuya won't be bothered by someone like her. After rage-abating Chiaki, Rin tells her that if she really wanted revenge, she should try to surpass Tatsuya in magic engineering, because she's the second best in that field. Rin then leaves Chiaki to contemplate her future, and later tells Hanzo that she could be a con artist with the way she lied to Chiaki. In some restaurant, Kyuko turns Officer Chiba into a total simp by sweetly telling him to accompany her at the Thesis competition with some officers, as she doesn't want anyone ruining their time together. The next day, before the Thesis competition, Kyuko gets told that Lu has escaped, while Hanzo informs Katsudo that after investigating Sekimoto, they found out he was mind-controlled. Upon hearing this, Katsudo quickly calls the security team for the Thesis competition and tells them to wear their bulletproof vests at all times. 4 hours later, Rin gets on the stage to give her presentation and leaves everyone shocked by presenting an advanced look at modern magic. Behind the curtains, George glazes Tatsuya for figuring out difficult magic sequences, but warns him they're not going to lose to him this time. Just then, a blast rattles the whole ground, which leaves the boys shaken. Outside the venue, a car without a driver crashes into the venue, prompting Chiba to call his inspectors for action. From the site, Inagaki informs him that a landing craft has just appeared and they're all unsure how to proceed. Hearing this, Chiba phones his father and tells him to send more backup to him, as they don't know what they're up against. In the meantime, Tatsuya rushes to Miyuki's side, telling her not to panic, when a group of armed intruders storms inside, forcing everyone to throw away their spell-casting device. While the students comply, Tatsuya nonchalantly guards Miyuki, which prompts the goons to open fire at him. As Tatsuya easily catches all the bullets with his bare hands and reduces them to dust, a stupid goon attacks him with a knife, so Tatsuya casually cuts off his arm. As Miyuki cleans his uniform, other students get the courage to apprehend the remaining intruders. With one problem taken care of, Tatsuya prepares to take care of the criminals that are stationed outside, when his friends tell him they're coming along. Just then, George confronts Tatsuya by asking him how he was able to stop multiple bullets with his hands, But Tatsuya tells the twink he doesn't have time for this and rushes out. Following this, Mayume comes to Azusa and tells her to use her powers to calm everyone down. When she hesitates, Mayume gives her a pep talk, after which Azusa uses a high-grade casting device to calm everyone. Once that's taken care of, Mayume addresses everyone and reveals that Kanto is under attack by multiple criminal groups, which is why they need to evacuate the venue as soon as possible. Around the same time, Tatsuya and his friends locate the remaining terrorists, and as Leo tries to face them, Tatsuya pulls him by, revealing that their enemies are using anti-magic bullets. He then tells Miyuki to use her magic to take care of the goons, and once that's done, Tatsuya tells everyone they have bigger fish to fry. He further adds that they need to strategize for this mission, so Shizuku tells him to hold a meeting in one of the conference rooms, which are usually used by politicians. Taking her advice, Tatsuya holds a strategy meeting where he shows everyone the numerous terrorist groups surrounding them. He then tells them their best bet is to head to the shelter camp, but before that, they need to erase their research data to ensure it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. When they arrive at the site, Tatsuya learns that the student council has already taken care of it. Shortly after, Katsudo arrives and tells Tatsuya to join Azusa and the rest of the students at the shelter camp. Out of curiosity, Tatsuya asks Katsudo what route Azusa has taken. When he reveals that she has gone through the underground tunnel, Tatsuya becomes worried and explains that they might encounter a terrorist group. As Katsuto dispatches his boys to help out Azusa, Mayume holds an emergency meeting to inform everyone that the terrorists are targeting the Magic Association to access its database. Mari then asks about the rescue ship, but Mayume tells her to not bank on it, since it won't be able to contain so many people. Just then, Rin receives a call from Hanzo, who informs her that Tatsuya was right about Azusa running into a terrorist group, but she assures them that things are under control, since they've already sent backup. All of a sudden, Tatsuya aims his gun at the door and scares everyone as they believe he got possessed by an American student. Mayume then uses her heightened vision and sees a truck ready to collide with the building, when Tatsuya reduces it to dust with his silver horn. In another location, Katsudo watches multiple supersonic rockets being launched in the air, when a captain of the Special Forces arrives with his panzer. After realizing he's no longer needed outside, Katsudo returns inside, where he sees Kyuko and Major Kazama addressing Tatsuya as Special Agent. Like him, his friends are shocked, but Tatsuya remains nonchalant and listens to Kazama's order of providing defense to the other agents on the battle lines. Just as Tatsuya leaves to do his job, Miyuki stops him and gently holds his face, which makes him kneel in front of her. As she kisses Tatsuya, a burst of power oozes out of him, shocking everyone, while Miyuki tells him that he no longer has to hold back. Somewhere else, Masaki deals with the terrorists by blowing them to bits, which even scares his own classmates, but Masaki remains unbothered by everyone's reaction and continues to flatline the criminals. Around the same time, Hanzo defeats the terrorists and clears the path for Azusa and the other students to reach the rescue shelter. Meanwhile, Katsudo approaches Kyuko and requests a vehicle from her, stating that he wants to check up on the Magic Association, since he has to fulfill his responsibility as the member of the 10 Master Clans. Acknowledging his request, Kyuko deploys 2 corporals to go with Katsudo. In the meantime, Azusa manages to guide everyone safely toward the rescue shelter, but just as they're about to make it inside, a bomb crashes through the ceiling. Luckily, their teacher Kazuo steps in and uses his casting device to hold the collapsing ceiling in place, which gives everyone enough time to reach the shelter safely. Back on the surface, Kyuko rounds up the remaining students and leads them to the rescue shelter, when they get intercepted by automated robots. Mayumi and Miyuki quickly take care of them, only to find the entrance blocked by the broken ceiling. As Mayume and Mari worry for Azusa's safety, Yoshida uses spirit magic and assures them that everyone is safe and sound. However, Mayumi and the council now have a new problem, since they can't evacuate to the shelter camp. So, she comes up with the idea of calling her father's helicopters to take everyone to safety, while Kyuko tells her that she's going to leave some of her men with her. Just then, Chiba and Inagaki arrive, assuring Kyuko to leave the students under their care. Thanking him, Kyuko turns to leave while Chiba zooms on her yams, so Erika tells her elder brother to stop being such a disgrace. Upon seeing her, Chiba hands her an advanced casting device that will help her fight better. Several minutes later, Kazama and another special agent, Sanada, take Tatsuya to the operating unit, where he wears his specialized casting device armor, basically turning him into a superhuman. After that, he flies towards an enemy drone and destroys it within seconds, while Misaki tells George to get on the rescue bus. However, George tells Misaki to join them, but he declines and says that he's going to the Magic Association, since it's his duty to protect the country, as the eldest son of the Ichijo clan. Moments later, Tatsuya joins the squad of Special Agent Yanagi, who shows him a sorcery booster, and it becomes clear to Tatsuya that his enemy is the Great Asian Alliance. 20 minutes later, the rescue choppers arrive, but so do the mechanical insects that start attacking the choppers. Shizuku does her best to take them down, but eventually Tatsuya and his boys save the day, allowing them to safely board the aircraft. Meanwhile, Katsudo rallies the magicians from the Kanto region so they can fight against the terrorists of the Great Alliance, but just as they start to win, spirits of old samurai spawn out of nowhere and start causing damage. Realizing someone must have been summoning them, Misaki stops being a slaughter machine and decides to find the spellcaster behind it. Elsewhere, Kanon and her friends finish off one group of terrorists when they are suddenly ambushed by another enemy squad. As they open fire, Kirihara loses his leg, while Kei loses his life protecting Kanon. Just then, Miyuki appears like an angel and freezes all the scums, while Tatsuya comes down and uses a restoration to bring Kei to life. After fixing Kirihara's leg, Tatsuya whispers in Miyuki's ear that she did great and leaves her with a wet punani. Returning to his aerial unit, Tatsuya takes out many more criminals, while Masaki's squad stands outside Chinatown, demanding to be let inside. Gonjin opens the door and shows Misaki the apprehended terrorists, painting himself as the victim. Meanwhile, on the rescue chopper, Kei and Kirihara still can't believe they aren't in hell with Eren Yeager. Mari then asks Miyuki if Tatsuya is a god, so she tells them that he just used a spell called Regrowth, which allows him to go back in time and heal people. She further adds that because of Tatsuya's godlike power, he is unable to wield magic properly. When Kanon and Kei rave about Tatsuya saving mankind, Miyuki darkly reveals that Tatsuya experiences the pain 10 more times than the person he just saved. In another van, Chen tells Lu to forget taking revenge on Tatsuya and focus on destroying the Magic Association. As he agrees, Mizuki suddenly senses Lu's bloodthirsty aura nearby, so Yoshida uses his spirits and sees Lu destroying the guards of the Magic Association. Hearing this, Mari tells Leo and Erika to help her take down the monster, so they all get suited up before jumping from the chopper. However, this time, Lu refuses to get defeated by a bunch of sissies and demolishes them until Ma Yume joins the fight and freezes Lu's airways. In the meantime, Chen enters the main office, only to get frozen by Miyuki, while Tatsuya finishes taking care of the remaining terrorists. Just when his team is about to blow up the enemy ship, Kyuko tells them to stop, revealing that it contains fuel batteries that can harm marine life. In the end, Tatsuya holds a sniper and activates a spell called Material Burst, which engulfs the entire ship in an obliterating light. Back home, Miyuki receives a call from her Aunt Maya, who asks her why she's all alone, so Miyuki assures her that even if Tatsuya is away from her, he is constantly protecting her with his godlike powers. Speaking of which, Tatsuya gets informed by Major Kazama that the East has mobilized another fleet to attack Japan. With most of their forces already exhausted from the first assault, Tatsuya decides to use a mass material burst spell to 9/11 the enemy fleet. A few days later, everything returns to normal, except for Miyuki and Tatsuya's relationship, which only gets more freakier. Is your sister also like Miyuki? Comment hot sister if you want a part 2. And as always, like and subscribe for more anime recaps.